You got it.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. Happy Friday to everybody. Thank you for attending. Today we have Brent with Elite Inspections with us. He's actually in person at our Alhambra meeting room. We're trying to get more engagement from our agents. So he's going to have an exciting announcement for our next upcoming events. He's committed to doing this every other month on Friday training with different topics related to home inspections, current events. And he's also going to offer a special for agents that come in person, okay? That way you can transfer and offer that to buyers and maybe get more business and stuff. So without further ado, Brent with Elite Inspections, the floor is yours, and you can go ahead and start sharing too.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for coming. Good morning to everybody. And I'm going to go ahead and pop over here and share my screen and get into the present. There we go. And let's see if this little thing works. All right, everybody seeing that?
Yep.
Good, good, good. Okay. Little bit of background about our company for those of you who don't know us all that well. This is our 40th year in business. We've conducted well over 600,000 inspections in Southern California since 1984. We have well over 10,000 five-star reviews. We're very well embedded in the Southern California area. We do cover San Diego County all the way through Ventura County. We have about 84 inspectors right now. We're constantly moving people in after a period of time of working with them. So we're actually bringing about 4 more on board in the next month. So we're a large organization. We are the largest privately owned inspection company in the world. There are franchises out there larger than us, but each one of those is individually owned, of course. So we've been doing this a long time. We're well embedded in California. Most people, if they haven't even used us, they know who we are. And we do encourage you to use us. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll understand kind of why and what we offer that is different than most other companies out there. But I want to get into kind of the basics of what a home inspection is. And I apologize if some of this is a little bit rudimentary for some of you. Many of you have done transactions many times over, so you kind of know what to expect. But for those who don't, and for new agents that are new to your group or new to real estate, it's worth going over. So the inspection itself is basically 3 things. And clients, we want to make sure we frame their expectations so they don't assume that there is much more to this than normal. So it's crucial for your trust with them, building rapport, and of course, trust and rapport can lead to referrals for you folks. So our inspection is basically this. It's a visual, non-invasive snapshot in time of the moment that we are inspecting the home. Let's talk about visual for a minute. Our approach to how we do home inspections is if we can see it and if we can get to it, we're going to include that as our part of our inspection regimen. We ask for your help with that sometimes, and I will get more into that later when we talk about access. But it's literally a visual inspection. So if we cannot see it, if something is in the way or it's blocked or it's shut off, if we can't get to this thing, we won't be able to inspect it and get it on the report for you folks. Non-invasive, pretty self-explanatory. What that means is we're not going to be opening up any walls. We're not going to cut into anything. We're not going to take anything apart. Like the HVAC system, we're going to turn it on, make sure it blows cold and hot air as appropriate. We're going to measure those things and see what the temperature is, but we will not take the machinery apart to find out if every spring and bolt is in place. We just don't do that. That kind of lays over with the visual part as well. The snapshot in time is literally the moment we're there inspecting the home, we're commenting and reporting on the condition of the home at that moment. So if by chance, a couple of days later, something changes about the house before you do your final walkthrough, we probably wouldn't have found it, especially if it's a pipe behind a wall. Let's say it starts leaking or it bursts or God forbid anything like that. Those are things that change, but at the moment of the inspection, this is what we find. It's kind of like when you guys do your first walkthrough and you're filling out your AVIDs. You're going to notice certain things, and then those things may change over time. We can't control that. So the report that you get from us will always be that moment in time.
Of course.
So let's talk about our inspectors. We have about 84 of them now. We're bringing more on board all the time. They work from home. So they live anywhere from San Diego to Moore Park. So we have guys everywhere. One of the small advantages of using a large company like us is if you have a house that needs to be inspected in Alhambra, Pasadena, LA, wherever it may be, and the only available inspector I have is from San Diego, there is not going to be any additional charge for having that inspector drive to the property location for you guys. Some of the smaller offices and shops that do inspections, they have to charge because their price point is different than ours. So we can absorb those costs for you. Makes life a little bit easier for you and your clients. Every single one of our inspectors that we have is INTERNACHI certified and CAR certified. And INTERNACHI is the international supervising body of property inspectors. They have to do classes, much like your pre-licensing exam for your real estate license. They have to do classes, they have to do a certain number of hours of education, things like that. They have to do on-site training as well for a certain number of inspections and hours, and they have to pass a certification test. There is no licensing body in California for home inspectors, believe it or not. Of all the states in the United States, there are actually 17 that do not require licenses, and of all places, California happens to be one of them. So we put our own restrictions on who we bring into the fold. They have to be INTERNACHI certified. They have to be background checked and insured, which is what the CAR certification is about. And if CAR certifies them, and if INTERNACHI certifies them, and then we start working with them, usually for a period of 4 to 6 months, we start training them and segueing them into being able to do this our way on their own. Once we feel that they're at that point, it normally takes about 4 to 6 months to do this. Then we start cutting them loose on single condos, one a day. That's all they do. One small condo every day. Most of our inspectors who've been doing this a long time do 2 or 3 jobs a day, and they'll do any size property that is needed. So we're pretty strict about how we handle who comes on board because we have a high standard of operating. We have to. We can't afford to step backwards because, well, to be honest, we're the industry leader. Everybody looks to us to be us. And so we constantly have to come up with reasons and values that grow what we are for you, for your clients, and for us and the industry as a whole. Some of the equipment that our inspectors carry, they have drones for roofs. Of course, there's some types of roofs we cannot walk on. Sometimes they're too steep. It's a material we can't walk on, whatever the case may be. We use the drones for that. We have air quality testing equipment, electromagnetic field testing equipment. We have moisture meters and infrared cameras. Now, the air quality testing equipment and the electromagnetic field testing equipment is standard equipment for our guys, but those are additional services. The drones, moisture meters, and infrared cameras are just tools of the trade. They don't cost anything extra to use. They're used constantly, all the time in every inspection. The infrared camera, for instance, is how we measure the registers of what the air temperature is blowing out at. We turn the AC on or we turn the heater on, we let it blow for a little while, and we literally will point this laser at the vent to measure the temperature that the air comes out at so we can verify, yes, the heat is working, this was the register temperature, yes, the AC was working, this was the register temperature, and all that information, including the photos of the infrared scan, will be in the report. We do the same thing with water. We test the water in every faucet we can find. Shower, tub, sink, whatever the case may be. And again, we use the infrared camera to measure the temperature difference. The moisture meters and the infrared cameras worked in conjunction is how we find active leaks behind walls. It's as invasive as we can get without actually opening a hole in a wall. So that's what those are really used for. A great example, if you have a refrigerator, we don't inspect refrigerators. It's an appliance. It's going to be replaced by somebody somewhere. But if those refrigerators have an ice machine in them, they have a water line behind them. Now, we are not allowed to move anybody's belongings, so we can't move the refrigerator. But if it's moved for us, either ahead of time or during the inspection, we can get the moisture meter and the infrared camera behind that wall what that water line goes into. We are happy to inspect that to make sure that there are no leaks or have not been any leaks and be a problem. So after your buyer buys the house and they move in, they get their own refrigerator, they find out, hey, there's something wrong with this wall. If we can't get to it, we can't look at it, and we want to look at it. So that's basically the equipment. Is there a way to move this bar?
Yep, just pull it and move it wherever you want.
Ah, perfect.
There.
Okay. All right. The inspector review with the client and agent. And this is one of the most important parts of our job. We train our guys and we have weekly meetings, collaboration meetings. Basically, for lack of a better way to put it, we teach people how to talk to other people. And this is crucially important in your business. It's crucially important in our business. You know your client far better than we do. So what we recommend normally is when you first arrive at the inspection, have a talk with our inspector. Give them an idea of the lay of the land. Maybe you have a very nervous and hyper-aware first-time buyer. Maybe you have a third or fourth time investor of property and they've bought with you many, many times and they kind of know a lot of stuff. Maybe they have a contracting background. Let us know what the deal is so we can help work with them and collaborate with them and discuss things with them kind of on their level. And that will help you greatly. It helps us greatly. It helps them greatly. When the inspection happens, especially with first-time buyers, but with many buyers, the emotion level is very, very high and they're very nervous, right? And what can happen is we bring the review of the report that moment to them and they see this long list of red, right? We've all seen it. We know what the summary report looks like. And we know it's a moment of potential panic. What we do is we try to educate and inform and allay the fears and anxieties that are associated with all that red. I'll give you an example. If a smoke detector is not working or is not properly installed or is missing from the house, that has to go in red because it's a health and safety issue, okay? It's not gonna be in the body of the report. It's gonna be on those first pages and it's gonna be one more thing of red. But we all know it's a very easy fix. $20 at Home Depot, you've got a new one, whap, you stick it in the ceiling, you're good to go, right? But it's one more thing that the client sees in red, and let's be honest, all they see is red. But if you walk through the house with these people, with the client, and you show them, this is what I wrote down, here's why it's in red, and here's why it's an issue. It's not that big a deal, but you will want to do X, Y, Z to this to remedy the problem. That's what our guys do. And after a while, like I had my home inspected by one of our guys about 4 years ago, and I've owned my house for a lot longer than that. Got it from family though, so it was a non-traditional transaction. My guy had 3.5 pages of red items in my house. And I knew that it needed a lot of work. But he literally walked me through the whole house, walked me through all the items and said, there's really only 4 things on this list that you got to take care of this year. 4. And he showed me what they were, explained what they were, and gave me the tools to do something about it. That made me feel a whole lot better. And I'm in the business. So you can imagine what it could do for somebody who really doesn't have the full picture of our knowledge, your knowledge, and mine. And we really work with our guys constantly. And I'll be frank with you, there's about 4 guys that we have working for us that are a little on the introverted side, and they are shy. So they're not as good at dealing with people as others. They're great at the inspection. Their reports are clean. They're great. But they may not be what you're looking for. The reason I'm going to be your point of contact, I am your marketing rep for a reason. You call me, text me, email me, and tell me what you're looking for in an inspector, and I know them. I go out on 4 and 5 inspections every single month. So I get to know these people. I know how they do their job. I know how they talk to people. And if you're looking for a great communicator, you're looking for somebody who's funny, whatever you need, I will hook you up with the right person. And then what I want you to do is the next time you use us, request that person. And if that person for some reason is not available on the date and time you need, I'm going to ask them, who would you send in your place? Because they're going to send the next person who's just like they are. Okay. Again, we've got a lot of inspectors, so we've got a lot of personalities to cover, but we can give you what you're looking for to help you with your client. And at the end of the day, if your client trusts you and the partnerships you make, all that does is get you a little further in the door to have a customer for life. And that's what this is all about. You guys are supposed to be our customer for life, so we got to do what we're supposed to be doing. You guys want your buyers and sellers to be your customers for life. That's about it for the inspectors. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So here's what Elite Group does. We do the property inspection for residential and commercial. We do mobile homes, condos, multi-unit dwellings. We do commercial of all kinds that's widely varied. We do anything from a small retail shop that's 400, 500 square feet, all the way up to 250 unit apartment buildings and everything in between. We can do high rises, we can do retail centers, churches, schools, you name it, we can do it. We actually have 4 inspectors that all they do is commercial inspections, and we have 12 that can do them as well as residential, so we kind of keep them on the sway side. The property inspection we kind of talked about a little bit. We also offer sewer scope inspections. We do termite, we do roof certifications, and we do mold and indoor air quality testing. That's what the IAQ stands for. I'm going to stop there for just a minute. And the reason we do 2 different types of mold tests are for this reason. And this is the best thing to remember. If you've gone through the property, or the inspector has, and we see what we call irregular staining, because at this moment, we don't know if it's mold and we don't know what type of mold it is. That's what the tests are for. But if you see some irregular staining, baseboard, ceiling in the bathroom, wherever, then you're going to want the mold analysis inspection. What that does is we go into the property, we swab any samples that we can see and get to, and we also will do the moisture meter and infrared camera pretty much throughout the whole house to try and find and track down any additional moisture intrusion into the house, sources of where this mold could come from. We also, in the mold analysis, will do a couple of air samples to make sure we're testing for mold spores as well in the various parts of the house. If you don't know if there's something in the house and you have not seen anything that is a stain of unusual origin, that's what the air quality test by itself is. Both of those start around $500 for a 1,500 square foot or less house. The air quality test will measure mold spores in the house. We take a control sample from outside, we take a couple from inside the house, 1,500 square feet, 2 samples is usually enough. And we measure just literally the count of spores in the air. So if you've seen something that needs swabbing, mold analysis inspection. If you're not sure, but you want to find out if there might be mold maybe behind a wall or in the vents that we can't see and get to or swab, then the air quality test is really what you're looking for. The roof certification, I'm going to back up for just a second. Our general home inspection, we look at the roof. Our roof certification is slightly different because, one, it's provided by a roofing contractor. This gentleman was one of our home inspectors for about 14 years, and we had a need for a roofer. We just did. So we asked him, would it be okay if you stopped working for us and started your own company? And he said, sure. What do you want me to do? He started his own roofing company. And we call it our roofing division, but it's not owned by Elite Group. It is not run by Elite Group. All we do is schedule them for the inspection section. So if this guy goes out to the property and the roof is in great shape and it passes certification, he'll certify that roof for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, whatever you decide to purchase or your client decides to purchase. And if that roof leaks during that time period, he will fix it regardless of what it costs. The regardless of what it costs, I want you to remember that, because there is a package that we're going to talk about in a little while, that there is a roof warranty built into this package of one of our services that allows for 5 years of leak repair, but it's capped at $1,500. So it's like a miniature insurance policy. So the difference really is, do you want a cap or do you want a no cap for that certification? And the certification honestly is king. It's a great way to help sell a property too. So if you get a pre-listing inspection, you get that roof certified for a few years, you can promote that as a sales point for the house. It works for a lot of people. Okay, inspection packages. This part is, I've got some brochures here in the office. Obviously, most of you are on Zoom, but the documents are here. I'll bring them up at the end and we'll circle back to this, but I do want to cover these really briefly with you guys, because this is the beginning of really the second thing that sets us apart. Our staff is really the main thing that sets us apart from other inspection companies. Morning. But what we do in every inspection is included in this elite section. It's our elite inspection. It's in the orange. It's on the left of the panel here. You get your general inspection and you get 2 other things. One's called Repair Pricer and one is called Home Binder. I'm going to briefly talk about what those are, even though you may know what they are. Many of you maybe have used us before. You know what Repair Pricer is. You've used it before. It's great. Repair Pricer is another company that will provide us an estimate for repair or replacement of all the issues we find in the summary. So they take our summary of our inspection report and they quote everything on that list. So what happens is you do a home inspection with us. You get your inspection report from us. When you do, you're also going to get an email from Repair Pricer saying, here's the teaser, the general estimate of the Repair Pricer for this property is $8,000, $10,000, whatever it is. Do you want the full report? Click yes. And when you click yes, within 24 hours, you'll have the itemized full report of every single section: electrical, roofing, plumbing, general, interior, exterior, all the stuff. And even better, you've already seen the summary yourself. You can actually check boxes to edit out anything you don't want in the full report. So you have the ability to edit what you actually get as a final product. The total is going to be the same, of course. But if you wanted to share this information with your buyer, you can control how much they see and what they don't see. If you want to use it as a negotiation tool, which most people do, put everything and go to town and say, look, we've got all kinds of stuff and all these costs. Can you meet us halfway? Can you meet us all the way? Can you fix some of these things? Whatever you want to do. The Repair Pricer is an amazing tool. And further, if you don't have a contractor to go to fix these things, Repair Pricer has their own network of contractors, and they will offer to do it for you based on their costs. So I had my home done, and there was a section, I have PVC pipe coming from the city to my house. My whole house is copper plumbing, and I've got one section, or I had one section along the back exterior wall that was galvanized. That's what was tagged out in my inspection report as a red item because the plumbing was messed up. To replace that, it said it was going to be $850. But there was an additional 4 feet of galvanized inside the wall that my inspection guy couldn't see because we don't do an invasive inspection. And it ended up being $1,190. So it wasn't the whole picture, but it was really close. And it got me in the ballpark so I could then budget for this item. And when it was time to fix it, and I did, I knew roughly what it was going to cost me. As the market shifts, and we get more and more buyers. I saw somebody the other day, they had 21 offers on a house and their offer got accepted. They were excited as heck. When that starts happening, you're going to shorten contingencies. You're going to make all kinds of accommodations because you've got to compete with the other buyers, other offers. One of those things is going to be eventually somebody's going to say, I'll just buy the house as is. If they want to do that, they'll have the Repair Pricer if you give it to them because it only comes to you guys and us. But if you want to give that to them so they can plan and budget, that shows them even more that you're on their side. You're looking out for them. You want to help them do what they want to accomplish with their home. And they can plan and budget for the things that need to be fixed and be pretty close in the dollar ballpark. Okay. So Repair Pricer, great thing, no additional cost. It's included in every inspection we do at base. Even if you add all kinds of other packages and services, you always get the Repair Pricer. The Home Binder. This is relatively new. And as far as I'm aware, we're definitely the only company in California that's doing these. And Home Binder is a digital platform for home management. It's for your client. It's not for you. It's not for us. It's a platform that they can log into and sign up for. And it looks like a desktop sort of thing on their computer. And there's tabs across the top for rooms of the house and whatever. They can upload any document, any photo, any information about their house for the life that they own that house. But here's the really fun part. Basically, it replaces that drawer in the kitchen everybody keeps with all their junk in it. Insurance information, mortgage information, tax information, what color they painted the kids' room, so that later on, they can actually share any and all of that information if they want to with the next person that buys their house when they move. But here's the great part for you guys. About 6 to 8 times a year on average, the homeowner will get a maintenance alert. So let's say 6 months after they move in, they sign up for the Home Binder platform and they're using it and whatever. They're going to get an email alert that says, hey, it's time to change the air filters in your HVAC system. When they get those alerts, when they open that email, your picture, your phone number, your email address, your information, your business card basically, is the first thing they see before they get to the email. So it's branded to you. So 12 years later, when they decide, hey, it's time to scale up, we're going to sell this house and move into something else, guess who they're likely to call? You guys try and stay in front of your clients anyway. This is our way of helping you do that by also providing the client something they can use, but it helps keep you in front of them as well. So when you call them 90, yes,
Do you have a printed booklet of maintenance items?
how do you mean?
Like, do you have a booklet that you could put in a package of,
Yes,
okay,
like a physical one?
Yeah.
Yeah, would you like a couple before I leave today?
yes, please?
Yeah, I've got about 8 of them in the car. I'll bring them
Okay,
up for you,
thank you.
okay? And we actually that's a great question. We used to hand those out at every inspection. They became cost prohibitive, so now what happens is we do a PDF version of them.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, and those are available too, but we still do have some of the physical copies. I actually took them, so I have them.
would like just one
And-
as a sample.
And they're great to have. They're really great to
Yeah.
have. We usually, we'll hand them out at something like this, or if you want a few, we can always get some for you guys.
Or
Okay.
just send Ruben the PDF, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And he could just spread it out to everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Will do. Okay. So that's our basic plan. That's all of our home inspections are going to include the general inspection, the repair pricer, and home binder. All really great things. If you want more services from us, there's a few ways to get it. The Elite Plus plan is going to include additional warranties like that roof repair that is capped at $1,500. It's going to include a mold safe warranty, which is another miniature insurance policy that has this very small amount of coverage for any mold issues that come up after the inspection. This is whether or not you get the mold inspection from us. It's just a little mini insurance policy. There's a sewer guard warranty, and that one is capped, I think, at $2,500 and maybe like $1,250 per occurrence in case the sewer backs up. The Elite Plus also includes a free mold swab if there is any unusual staining without having to do the full mold analysis. We can do one swab included in that cost of the Plus. It includes sprinkler. It includes the home PDF that you were just asking about. And it also includes something called an energy audit for the home. This is provided by a company called Energy Raven that we partnered with last year. And it gives an estimate of the costs of the utilities for the year for the client. It also runs down a report with all kinds of graphs of about how energy efficient the home is and recommendations to make it more so should they wish to do that. Younger buyers are really hot for this. They seem to love it. They're the ones that request it the most. But it is part of the Elite Plus package. So the Elite Plus package is always the same cost. It's a flat fee of $200. So whatever your base inspection cost would be, which is based on square footage and property type, an additional $200 will get you everything in the Elite Plus package. Once you've purchased or wanted to order the Elite Plus package, then you have access to all of our additional services at a reduced cost. That is what Platinum is. That's why the big arrow is on the screen. It's pointing, directing your attention there. And I'll give you a reason why. We'll use a base number of, let's say, $500 for the basic inspection. Okay, we've got like, I don't know, 1,900 square foot home, maybe a little bit larger, probably larger. You get all the general inspection, repair price, or home binder. You get the Elite Plus with all the extra bells and whistles. Now that mold analysis, if you want the full mold analysis, is no longer $500 or $600. It's $200. Any of the services in the Platinum package are only $200 each. The sewer scope is normally $300. The foundation review can only be purchased from Platinum. And that is a review of the subfloor, of course, the foundation by a licensed contractor who does that, who does foundations only. The roof certification, the starting cost for a 2-year roof certification is normally $375. The mold and the IAQ for the smallest homes started around it's $495, so it's $500. But if you package them in the Platinum format, where you get the general inspection with Elite, you do the Elite Plus package, and then you start adding the additional services, suddenly those are only $200 a piece. You can get more by spending less. So if you know that you're going to get a mold or an indoor air quality test, or you're going to use multiple services from us, the call reps, myself, everybody who works for us, even the inspectors who are on site, we all know how to package it to save you the most money, save your client the most money. And that's really our goal. We want you to use us for everything. We want to be your one-stop shop. We want you to always call us for anything you need having to do with an inspection. And if we can do it, and we probably can, we will. But we also want to try and save you guys money, because money at the end of the day is really the crux of your buyer's anxiety. Price is everything. And we know that. So we try to give as much value as we possibly can, crammed into our base package, our Elite Plus package, and our Platinum services, while still allowing you to use one person to do it all and keep the price point low enough that you're not going to freak out your client, and we're not going to freak them out. Okay, so that's our packages kind of in a nutshell. The property information we look at, we establish cost based on basically two things. It's always going to be based on the square footage, and it's going to be based on the building type. Whether it's a condo, which are a little less than homes, so single family homes a little bit more than a condo, because there's less to inspect in a condo. It could be a duplex. If it's a duplex that's attached, that will cost less than a duplex that's detached structures, and so on with triplexes, fourplexes, et cetera, et cetera. When we get into commercial, which are much larger, the price is a little bit more subjective because it has a lot more to do with year built, size, occupancy of the building, things like that, whether it's a retail store or it's an open warehouse or it's an industrial place or it's a restaurant. It varies greatly with commercial. So those you're always going to have to request a quote for. But the inspection cost for residential is always going to be based on square footage and building type. County has a little bit to do with it. Los Angeles and Orange County are actually our middle price points. And just to give you an idea, under 1,500, up to 1,500 square feet rather, LA and Orange County single family home is $435. That's our base cost. That includes the repair pricer, the home binder, all the things we just discussed in the basic package. So it does go up incrementally from there, but I think the next section is like 460 or 465. I think it's 460 for up to 1,850 square feet. So the larger the square feet, it scales up. So county, that's LA and Orange County. Ventura and San Diego County are a little bit more expensive than that. The base cost is about $15 more. And Riverside, San Bernardino County are actually about $15 less than LA and Orange County. So county will have a little bit to do with it, but not a huge number. But just so you're aware of how that works. One of the other things we collect about the property information, and it's good to note, when you call us, whether you call me or you call our office, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask you the address. And the reason we want it is we want to look it up online so we can see it physically. We want to see pictures. That usually gives us a very good idea of what we're looking at, in as much as, is there a pool? Is there an extra structure on the property? What is that structure? We may not see all the pictures that we want to give us a clear understanding, but we're going to ask you. So if you have an extra structure on the property, and not like a duplex, and it's just a studio that's been turned into an office, yes, we're going to charge extra if you want that inspected, but it's going to be like $100 or $150. It's nothing. But if it's a small bedroom with a kitchenette and a full bathroom, that will be more because it's going to have its own water heater. It's going to have its own services and things like that. So the more we have to inspect, obviously we're going to have to charge more, but we want to charge appropriately and also not overcharge. Just because there's a structure on the property does not mean it's a full guest house. And we know that, but this prompts the questions. It prompts the communication and us collaborating to create an accurate picture for the whole thing. ADUs are now a big deal. So we're seeing all kinds of these pop up, and sometimes they're very simple, sometimes they're very complex. We just need to know what's on the property to price appropriately. The year built and the size of the property can help us also assess how long the inspection will take. I'll give you an example. One of my inspectors, a very close friend of mine, did a house in Duarte, 900 square feet, tiny little house. Normal circumstances probably would have taken him an hour to do the whole thing, maybe. This house happened to be built in 1905 and hadn't been lived in for 3 years. It took him 3.5 hours to get all the information, take all the correct pictures, fill out his sections of the report appropriately, and put everything together before he left the property. Just because it was old and hadn't been cared for in so long. There was so much to attend to and record that it took him a long time. The very next day, he did a 2,800 square foot house that was like 15 or 18 years old that had been really kept in great shape. It took him an hour and a half. So size and year built can help us get a clearer picture, especially when we talk with the inspectors, of really how long the inspection can take. The largest house we've ever inspected is 38,000 square feet. There were 9 swimming pools, 5 of them were indoors. It had a bowling alley, it had a movie theater, it had all kinds of extra amenities. That one, if you have a case where it's a large estate or it's a complex property, typically what we do is at our discretion, we'll send multiple inspectors out there. We don't want you to be there all day. You don't want to be there all day. We don't want to be there all day. So what we do is we send appropriate number of inspectors to get the same job done. They collaborate in one report, not 3 or 2, but they put everything in one report. It's all consolidated, but at least we get the job done in a timely manner. So you're, 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever the case may be, depending on the property. So we look at all these things to help us kind of create a picture of what should we expect, how many personnel are going to be needed to do it, what's it going to cost, and are we going to inspect all the things you want us to? Okay, that's property information in a nutshell. This is my favorite topic, access. Access and attendance. I'm going to cover attendance first because it's shorter. So attendance is just about who's going to be at the inspection. We've all seen them. We've all done them. You got a first-time buyer. They bring everybody to the inspection. There's like 12 people there, kids running around. There's dogs. They brought the pets. They brought the whole thing. That's perfectly fine. We have no problem with that. In fact, it's more people to interact with and more people to develop a relationship with. Great. All we ask is that you run interference for us. Let our inspector do his thing. Try to keep distractions and interruptions to a minimum for us. However you can do that. And then at the end, yes, we will come find you and we'll have a great big meeting and we'll talk about all the things that our inspector found in the report and go over the summary with everyone there. And we'll answer as many questions as you guys have too. That's important to note too. But we do ask that we try to get the job done first. It can be tricky. We've had agents too that follow us around and ask us a lot of questions, and it can be distracting. And here's honestly why we want to avoid it. We have errors and omissions insurance like you do. And if we miss something, that puts us on the hook for liability. And we don't want that, nor do you. And the more we get distracted, we up that risk factor. And the more focused we can be on our job, the more thorough we can be, the more accurate we can be, and the less liability exposure we have. So really, that's kind of what it's about. But it's also about dealing with the customer in the right way and dealing with you guys in the right way. And that's really important to us, supremely important to us. So that's attendance. Now, back to access. Access means a lot of things, and I'm going to start from far away, and I'm going to work my way into the property. So we have gated communities, typically condos and townhomes, but if there's a gate code or a gate guard, does the gate guard need the name of the inspector? Does my inspector need to show ID at the gate? Or do they just need to show a business card and get in? If there's a gate code, could you please provide it to us? Or arrange, when you make the appointment, arrange to meet our guy at the gate so you can let him in. We have to be able to get to the house to do the inspection, obviously, but that's an important thing to consider. Locked gates on the property. Sometimes we find locked gates or locked areas of the yard, and it prohibits us from gaining access. Those will need to either be opened or we'll have to have access to a way to open them or get around them. Dogs. Dogs prevent access, depending on their size and nature. If there are dogs, especially if there's multiple, especially if they're larger, we ask that they either be put away or moved off property while we can do the inspection. That just makes life easier for everybody. And again, it can be a liability issue, and that's a big, big deal for everybody, especially in California. Once we can get to the property, then we get into the more minutia of access. And access in a house can mean the refrigerator example I gave earlier. Now, that's not normal access, but if it's provided, we can get to something extra and examine it for you, report on it for you, indicate potential problems with it. I'll give you a simple example. If someone were to have taken a crowbar to the wall in the living room behind the couch and gouged a huge line across the living room wall, if that couch is blocking it, we're never going to see it. But I guarantee you, when your buyer moves in and they move that couch, or that couch is gone and they're ready to put their own furniture in there, that's going to be an issue to them. And they're going to wonder, how come and they're going to point at you, how come your inspector didn't find this? And then you're going to call us. And I'm going to say, remember the visual line of sight part? Remember the not moving property part? And that's just kind of how it's going to go. Obviously, we want to avoid that. So the more access to sections of the home, walls, things like that, we can get, the better. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. The property owner is getting ready to sell their property. They know the buyer is going to show up soon with an inspector. Where are they going to put all their stuff? Garage, underneath sinks and closets, right? Guess where we need to look? And very often, and it's very prevalent, especially under sinks, Everybody's got, 50 Stater Brothers bags and sponges and cleaning supplies under their kitchen sink, right? Okay. If it blocks the pipes, we literally cannot move any of those things out of the way, even to peak. So either someone needs to move them for us, whether it's the seller, the owner of the house, the seller's agent, you guys, whoever. If somebody else can move it, wonderful. We can't because it puts us at risk for liability. It just does. Probably does the same thing to you guys. So I would recommend going to the seller or the seller's agent. But again, everything we have access to allows us a more thorough and clearer picture of the property. And we are willing to work with you to get things done. I'll give you an example. One of our inspectors happens to be a very small guy. He's about 5'4", and he's very lightweight. So he's very small. He's great for inspecting crawl spaces. There was an attic panel in one of the master bedroom. Underneath this panel to the attic was a massive king-size bed, heavy wood. And no one could or did move the bed for us. So we couldn't actually put a ladder on the bed because that's an issue. So we couldn't access the attic panel. Well, the buyer's agent, who happened to be there during the inspection, said, hang on a second, I've got an idea. And he took his shoes off and he got on the bed and he crouched down just a little bit and he said, can you get on? My inspector took his shoes off, climbed on the buyer's agent and accessed the attic panel so we could inspect the attic. So should he have done that? Well, work comp might say no, but it got the job done. And we are really willing to work with you guys as long as we're met halfway and helped. And collaboration and communication are key in that. If you want some extra TLC given to a section of the house, let us know. None of my guys are going to say no. Everybody's going to say, can I get to it? And if they can get to it, they'll inspect whatever you like.
You know
Yes.
what I saw once?
Hmm.
It's so tricky. A bath mat.
Yeah.
Looked cracked.
And it's always something simple. And
Do
it's,
you guys pick up bath mats?
we can't move
I picked
anything.
it up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's what we're looking
it's
for.
cracked.
And that's what we're looking for.
And
And it
so
sounds
In the
really
tub-
silly.
A tub mat, I'm sorry, a tub mat.
Yeah, but it's always can be something really simple. It could be somebody
Yeah.
had left a towel on the ground,
Yeah.
but we literally can't touch
Yeah, I
people's
went like
property.
that, I went,
Yeah. And even if it were, let's just say it was a cosmetic issue. It was just, discoloration or whatever, wear and tear. But we want to see those things because we can include it in the report to give a more clear understanding, because that's our job. Here's the picture of the property and its condition. We want you to know, we want your client to know the truth,
yeah.
but we can't always get the whole truth because there's things that stop us. Yeah. And it's like, who would have thought, right? Something that simple. And it could be furniture. It could be items under a sink in a closet. We've had instances where the water heater has been in the garage in a little nook that they like set back against,
Mhm.
inside the wall. And there's so much stuff. We didn't even know the water heater was there. So we went to the owner and said, where's your water heater? Oh, it's in the garage. Well, can you show it to us, please? Oh, it's back there. And we did this. Would you be able to move some of this stuff so I can get to it because I need to test it? And thankfully they were very agreeable and they did. But we can't do it. So it's like our hands are literally tied when it comes to these things, but we will ask and we will beg to get access to things if we can get them. And if there's things like, you were smart enough to even think, let me look under here. And that was smartest thing you did that day, right? And if we get that, we can be even better for you and your client, because that's what they want at the end of the day. They want the clear whole picture of the house. One of the things that access also means is, and this goes for more vacant dwellings, but the utilities have to be on. And sometimes they're not. And I want to give you a fair warning about what happens if we have to come back to a property for any reason. If we couldn't get to the water heater, or if we couldn't do the crawl space, if we couldn't test the water or whatever because the electricity wasn't on or the water wasn't on or whatever. If we have to go back out to a property to finish the inspection, we consider that what we call a re-inspection. And every re-inspection is going to cost $200 because we got to pay our guy to go back out to the house. So we want to avoid that. We don't want anybody to pay any more than they have to. So we try to get it done once. I live by a credo that says, if you don't have time to do it right, when are you going to have time to do it again? And I say that to everybody I work with so many times that they want to just smack me around, I'm sure. But if you think about it, it's so true. If you don't have time to do it right the first time, chances are pretty good you're not going to have time to do it again. and you don't want to do it again, nor do you want to pass it off to somebody else to do it again. So that's kind of how we focus our efforts. We want to do one stop, one inspection, give you the most thorough, clear picture and understanding of that property's condition as we can. And then you can move on with the rest of your transaction with your client. We can move on to the next inspection and do the best job for them as well. Okay. So ensure access points and areas of concern are free of obstacles or belongings. Garage, under sinks, and closets are three of the worst culprits, but they can be anywhere, even a bath mat on the bathroom floor. So if you think that there's something that you want us to look at, make sure that there's nothing obstructing it, and we're happy to do it. Yes.
On some of the newer construction building,
Yes.
they don't use a regular stucco, they use a smooth type of surfacing
Mhm.
stucco. They show a lot of tiny crack around the building. How do we explain to the buyer?
Normally, what that is it's settling and separating. Sometimes it is created by moisture, but here's the issue when you have a crack of any kind in any type of stucco. If there's a broken seam in its smooth surface, it can, and eventually will, just a matter when, let moisture in. And what it's doing is it's kind of a protective shell for the house, right? And it's designed to protect what's underneath it from moisture. Moisture is the worst enemy, and we know this because it's been raining all week, but even when it doesn't rain for months and months and months at a time, moisture is still the worst thing for a house, right? And so when there are cracks, we will note them. We will not use extra adjectives. We're not going to say large crack, supreme crack. We're just going to say crack noted in stucco. We're going to take a picture of it, and that's all we're going to say. If it's a severe enough crack or if it goes along the whole line of the house, we may say requires further evaluation from contractor. So that's what we do is if something is serious enough, typically the things that are in red, that's when we say it really warrants further evaluation by a contractor that handles these things. And that's where we go from identification of an issue to a recommendation. And that recommendation, we do recommend you follow up with it.
Would you able to explain to the buyer, potential buyer, that those hairline crack are not
Not a main issue?
not the
Yes.
main issue?
Yeah, in fact, that brings up a great example. I go out on about 4 or 5 inspections a month just because I want to, not because I have to. It's my choice because I like to know everything about what we do. I'm a very knowledge-oriented guy. That's why I teach classes. When I go out, I follow them around. I don't distract them, but I watch what they do and how they do it. And occasionally at the end, I'll ask some questions that I have on a list. One of the things that I hear them say a lot to clients and agents is, I was going to put this in red, but I'm going to put it in the body of the report because this crack means this, and it's not that big an issue, but I do want to let you know it's there. So I'm going to include it in the report. Okay. And does it need immediate fixing? No, it's something you want to watch. And if the crack does, get larger or widen, and this is whether it's in the cement or in a wall or in a stucco or any type of stucco, it doesn't matter what kind, or if it's in any wood, you could have a patio cover. And some of the beams might begin to split. And little cracks are not that big a deal. And our inspectors, they know that because they see this is what they do all day. They look very fine-tunedly at properties and structures all the time. I don't. You kind of do in your own way, but they look at it with different eyes than you do. And if you have a property like that, and you've got a buyer that might be like, ooh, if I get some bad news about this house, I might walk away from this. Tell me. Let me send one of my guys. I've got about 22, 24 of our inspectors used to be contractors of various types. Let me send one of them because they can explain it really well and even give them an idea of this is probably going to be fine, but you may notice in a couple of years it might get bigger. And if it gets bigger, just call somebody out to patch it. And suddenly a potentially big issue, it's not a big deal anymore. And that's important to your buyer because your buyer is going to be up here with their emotions already, right? Then they get that, which could be construed as bad news, right? We don't want them to have bad news. Now, we're not going to sell them a bill of goods either. We're not going to say, oh, this house is perfect and it's fallen down. That's not the goal. But we want them to have the truth. And if the truth really is, this is not as big an issue as you think it might be, we want them to know that. That's important to us. That's all. It goes back to my 3 C's: communication, clarity, and consistency. You have to have these things. And we teach our guys that every day.
The problem for me to explain to the potential buyer is that there's a newer building, new construction.
Yep.
It's just that.
And why is there a crack in something that's
Yeah.
brand new?
I mean, very tiny crack, it's not like, not like a regular crack, it's just something.
Like a hairline?
Yeah, hairline.
Okay.
Crack, I thought, wow, how do I explain to them?
The best way to explain it is, and honestly, is it from a builder? Are you dealing with the builder on the other side?
Your computer already gone.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
just
so
gotta handle that.
what I would do is, in a case where you've got a substance, whether it's a seal on a floor or a wall like that, or stucco, if it's a hairline crack, if it's small, one, it's probably not gonna be an issue anytime soon, right? The reason cracks happen is because the temperature changes. It's like, you ever get one of those little marks in your window? It's a little starburst sort of crack. The heat, it gets hot, it gets cold, it gets hot, that crack is gonna spread. It does the same thing with stucco, it does the same thing with pretty much everything. And also, in California, we have earth movement a lot every day, right? And you add those two things together and you're gonna have cracks. It doesn't mean, like, I've got a crack in my living room wall, right? It's where I've got really high ceilings. So I've got two pieces of drywall that come together, okay? And the person who did the putty didn't do it great. And there's a little tiny hairline crack that's about this long, right above my couch. It's about this high on the wall, right?
This problem is all over the house, around the house.
So the
whole
builder,
thing.
did you close it?
Did I close it? No. Well, I have potential buyer.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, in a case like that,
They
if
look
it,
at it, they kind of turn off.
if it's just a few here and there of hairline cracks, probably not an issue. If it's prevalent around the entire property, I would contact the builder.
It's like all over, like, I mean.
Because
kind of-
sometimes they'll send their contractor.
Yeah.
Well-
If you wanna buy it.
Yeah,
Like,
and they may be willing to patch it to make a sale.
Yeah,
I don't think you can patch it up either, because it's so tiny,
Yeah.
but it's all around the house.
oh. well.
Yeah, if it's that prevalent, if it's just a few here and there, that's different. But if it's everywhere, if it's
Yeah.
very, very common and prevalent, I would contact either the seller, the owner, the builder, whoever you're dealing with on the other side, whoever that is. And in any case, maybe somebody had their house just re-stuccoed and they've owned it for however many years. If you see the same kind of issues that are really common and prevalent around a property, I would call the seller and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. When was the last time this was done? Do you know the person who did this? Can I call them?
But it's not a closed deal, so you're fine.
Yeah, as long as you're not closed, you still have some wiggle room to do something about it, or at least investigate further,
Yeah,
and I would.
yeah, I just told them, hey, that's
Yes.
what it is. No
Oh,
big deal.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know I talked. Okay, so real quick, let's wrap up a couple of things. Payment options. The inspection can be paid for in person or electronically. In person's easy, cash or check, super simple. When it comes to electronic payment, there's three ways to do it, and I'm not going to recommend the first one, but I do have to go over it. They can pay with credit card or debit card. Please don't do this. This is my opinion, and I get to inflect my opinion because I'm teaching this class. So there is a 3.5% additional service fee for credit cards and debit cards. That's why I don't like it. I don't want to charge anybody any more than they're already paying for. And it's not money that's going for the inspection. It's just money that's going for the transaction. We don't want that. There is another way to do it. It's an e-check. It's called ACH. You put your account number, your routing number, the amount you want to pay, boom, you're done. Simple. No additional fees. It's paid for just the same. It doesn't bother anybody. So no credit card, yes to e-check. You can also
Can
pay
I
at close
ask
of
a
escrow.
question?
Oh, yes.
Why is the fee accessible?
We actually, as a company, have the choice whether or not to pass the transaction fee along to our customers. And about a
Right.
year and a half ago, they opted to start doing that. Why? I do not know.
That's
I wish I could
Mhm.
undo it. I really do. But honestly, I would recommend.
because if you have
people pay-
if you have the leeway to waive it, why wouldn't you? I mean, the easiest way to get the payment is by credit card. Nobody likes carrying their account in their possession. That's the whole point. I've been a banker.
I know, and
for a
I
long
agree
time.
with you. I totally agree with you. I don't like the credit card fee. It is still simplest to use. And if the fee for the inspection is in the low range, $400, $500, $600, it's not that big a deal. This is really more concerning when you've got multiple services from us. You end up with a total fee of maybe $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Then all of a sudden 3.5 can be an issue. So I like to point it out to people so they're aware of it, because I don't like surprises for your clients. That is unfair to you, it's
Mhm.
unfair to your client, and it's gonna yield an unhappy circumstance, and we don't want that. So that's why I bring it to everybody's
Right.
attention. The e-check is honestly the
Thank
best way
you.
to go. If they have that information, it's readily accessible from home, great. If they want to use pay at close, they can do the pay at close of escrow option as well. That's super simple to use. They just check the box. They will have to put a credit card information in there in case it falls out of escrow. That's all it's for. We then bill escrow. Okay, so those are pretty easy to use. The last thing I want you guys to understand is how to get your report. 2 items come from us, 2 items come from you guys, well, your client. The inspection has to be completed, obviously, and then it has to be uploaded by our inspector. It's typically done the same day, but we do say within 24 hours because sometimes inspections can be late in the day. So once it's completed and uploaded, if your client has paid for the inspection and has also signed our service agreement for the inspection, then the cup's full. And you're ready to get your report. That's all that it takes. But often one of these steps, typically the signed one, is missed. So if you end up the next day, hey, I don't have my report, where is it? I get a phone call, I get a text, I get an email. I don't know how to get my report, where is it? I look it up in the system, I see it's not signed, I see it's not paid. I will send an immediate email for rectifying the situation and I will get you your report
You're
ASAP.
gonna make the Buyer sign it?
Mhm.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a service contract.
Does the
It's-
agent get the copy of the buyer sign?
You do, in fact, what they're basically signing is, have you ever seen one of our reports before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's a
But I just
summary.
don't remember.
That's okay. There's a summary, right? And all the red stuff. And then after that, there's like 3 pages of like really small text. And then there's the report, right? They're signing, acknowledging those 3 pages. It's basically here's what we inspect, here's what we don't inspect, and here's why. That's really all it is. It's our exclusions and conditions.
Okay,
That's all it is.
So it's not a signature accepting is it a signature accepting the contents of the home inspection?
Mhm.
acknowledging the full report?
Yeah,
It acknowledges the full
Yeah.
report. Okay,
But,
these are our findings and here's how we found them.
but that signature is required to get access to the report?
To unlock the report. Yeah.
Okay, so then that isn't,
You know, it's the service contract. It's basically agreeing to how we do our service.
but it's not accepting the contents of.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not a confirmation that I've read and understand the contents of the report and I agree,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Because we require a signature of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's,
Because we don't want them to come back later on saying, well, you guys didn't.
you didn't
explain
tell
it."
me.
Yeah.
We know. That's what ours is for too. Yes.
Yeah, what I really need is like, you have a chart of the pricing and by the square footage. Or whatever you charge additional, how much you could extra charge. Yeah, something like that.
Here's what I'll do. I carry around a digital version of our price sheet and it's got basically the residential square footage delineations on it for each of the counties. I'll send a copy of that to Ruben so he can give it to you guys. We're not supposed to, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't.
I mean, like sometimes we.
You know what I mean? It's like, why, when you guys call us, we're gonna tell you the price anyway. Now, those prices do change. Last time we raised our prices was 1 year and 2 months ago. We haven't raised them since, but when they change, I'll just send you a new one.
That's just, I think what passing on is just to gauge during conversations with the potential buyer.
Just to give an idea.
What it's gonna roughly run.
The best place to do that is the base cost, because the base cost is your variable. It's gonna be square footage property type, right? The plus package, if you ever want it, is always $200. And then if you want additional services on top of that, then once you're at plus, each of those are only $200. So you're talking about a flat number, a static number. The base number is what you want. I'll get you a copy of that for every county. So no matter whether you're selling a property in San Diego or Ventura or Riverside or wherever, you'll have the numbers for all the square footages, okay?
thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Are you done with your presentation?
I am. I'm just gonna put
You can
one.
ask online if they have any questions.
Sure. Does anybody online have any additional questions? I hear crickets.
You want to look at the chat box and see if those are questions in there?
Is
Well,
there any
if you can
hard to have us
provide
come
us
back a
with your
second
contact,
time?
that would be great.
I'm sorry?
If you can provide us with your contact here so we can jot it down, that would be great.
I will.
Thank you.
I'll let them know. I'll also be sending out, his information too.
Oh, thank you.
Did you go over your current turnaround time?
The turnaround time for our reports, you'll have your report within 24 hours. And then as far as scheduling, because we get asked this a lot as well. There you go. To schedule, if you were to call today, I could get you on the calendar within 24 to 48 hours.
You work the weekends.
That's a good question. We work 7 days a week
Yeah,
and
that's-
almost every holiday,
Yeah.
including Christmas, Easter. Here's what happens. Christmas, we're technically closed. New Year's, we're technically closed, but we have 5, 6 guys every year. They'll call in and they'll say, if you've got a job, book me. So if you in a pinch have to do it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, God help you, but we can do it. So we're available all the time. We've got a lot of inspectors. We do 7 days a week, most holidays. Chances are pretty good I can get you on the calendar if you need to be. As we get busier, we can still do that.
Thank you.
Briefly, can you go over what your next 2 parts, your next inspection sessions are gonna go over in particular, and then also what in-person agents
Incentive?
can expect?
So next time I come, what we're going to talk about, especially with the onset of all this water outside, is we're going to talk about mold, very specifically about mold. I'll show you an example of what a mold or air quality report looks like. I'll show you kind of how to read it, what to expect from it, how it works, the nuts and bolts of all that stuff, show you various ways we can find it in the property. And for anybody who comes in person, I am going to be bringing a certificate or a gift card basically for $100 off of your next inspection with us. No joke, $100 off for your client. You pass that off, you'll be a rock star. They'll love you forever. It'll be great. So if you're in person in here, if I can fill this room, everybody who shows up, and maybe I'll even bring some food. So you've got food and $100 at your disposal. So whoever wants to come to the next one, we're going to talk about mold. It's a yucky subject. I get it, but I will make it worth your while. I promise. All right. So thank you guys very much for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you again in a couple of months and we'll put together another class regarding mold. Again, $100 gift certificate, and then we'll be good to go. All right.
Question,
Yes.
on the, your price is different for pre-inspection?
No.
Or actual inspection?
No.
Same thing.
Same cost.
Got it.
Square footage, property type. That's it. That's why I said it that way. But yes, same price. That's a good question. Good question.
Is the recording on?
No, we're gonna stop recording right now.
Oh.
So if you do stop sharing. Stop sharing,
Oh, there it is.
and then the 3 buttons, stop recording.